Hi Riley, hi Colby. Today's story is Cinders, a Chicken Cinderella by Jan Brent. Cinders, a Chicken Cinderella. That is a chicken. Snow on the outside, feathered friends on the inside. Every evening, Tasha took oats to little Cinders and the other chickens in the old tower. This evening, a blizzard was raging, and Tasha had to struggle through the wind and snow to get there. See the chicken? And all the snow. Inside, the old biddy, Largessa, and her daughters, Pecky and Bossy, pushed Cinders out of the way and ate up the oats before Cinders had any. She hid under the wood stove until Tasha lifted her gently onto her lap and fed her. After all the chickens were cared for, Tasha tried to leave, but snow had piled up against the door. Her father was traveling and wouldn't be home until the next day, so she curled up near the warm stove. As soon as Tasha fell asleep, a warm glow filled the room and the hen house came to life. The chickens clucked and gossiped until Largessa, that big know-it-all, pranced out of the shadows with an invitation to a ball. "Darlings," she trilled, "it will be more than a ball. Prince Cockerel is sure to be looking for a princess bride." She winked and poked Pecky and Bossy. "Time to get ready," she cackled with delight. So, that's Largessa, Pecky, and Bossy. They're chickens. And the invite says, "Prince Cockerel requests the pleasure of your company. A fete, a frolic, a feathered fantasy on the full moon at the Ice Palace." That's what the invite says. "Cinders, lace my lacings and shine my slippers," Pecky ordered. "Bring warm water to scrub my toes," Bossy bellowed. "Do me first," Largessa ordered. "Trim my tail feathers and fetch my jewelry box." Cinders didn't know where to start. The primping and fluffing, shining and smoothing seemed to go on for hours. Would she ever have time to get ready herself for the ball? What would she wear? She began to wonder if she would even go. So, let's see. This one is Cinders. The snow stopped and the moon shone a path through the window. The feathers, dressed in all their finery, flew off to the ice palace, all except Cinders. She looked down at her wet feathers and frayed wingtips and started to cry. She wanted to go to the party too, huh? Suddenly, the log in the stove flared. Into the light flew a beautiful, silky hen Cinders had never seen before. "I'm here to get you ready for the ball," the Silky promised, and she brushed Cinders with her wand. Cinders found herself wearing a splendid silver seraphim dress. Where ashes had covered her feathers, a silver sheen sparkled. On her feet were the loveliest crystal slippers, and in a basket nearby, one of her white eggs glowed like the silvery sheen of her dress. Next, the Silky rolled out a pumpkin. She called to the pigeons on the rafters and pulled some mice out from under the floorboards. Lastly, she summoned 3 ducks. Then she brushed them all with her wand. See the 3 ducks and the 3 mice. The pumpkin became a fine sleigh, the pigeons elegant footmen, and the mice in matching livery drove the troika of ducks, all in gilt harnesses. As they glided away through the wintry glade toward the ice palace, the Silky called out to Cinders, "My magic will work only until midnight. When the ice clock chimes 12, everything will be as before." So you see Cinders, the chicken, here, getting accompanied by the 3 mice and led by the 3 ducks, all in a sleigh. At the palace, the ball was beginning. Largessa pushed her daughters to the front of the line and gave Pecky a shove. The prince, ever the gentleman, caught her before she fell. She looked up into his eyes, swooning the way Largessa had taught her. Swoon. Once all the guests were announced, Pecky and Bossy stayed close to the prince, keeping him away from the pretty young pullets. The door opened one more time. Everyone looked to see who the last guest could be. Cinders stepped daintily into the ballroom, her eyes sparkling. Her head held high. No one recognized the little hen. Prince Cockerel went forward to meet this beautiful mystery guest. He could not take his eyes off of her. The Silky peeked through the window. Prince Cockerel was leading Cinders onto the dance floor. The prince never left her for a moment. When he crowed, she cooed. He was the handsome prince, she the dazzling princess. Let's see here. The hour grew late. Dark clouds moved in and covered the moon. The ice clock began to chime. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cinders turned away and flew out the door. 5, 6, 7, 8. She fluttered against the gate, losing her crystal slipper. 9, 10, 11, 12. The little gray hen felt herself growing lighter as her silver dress turned into her old frock. She was covered in ashes just like before. The spell was broken. She flew home and settled on her nest under the stove before the flock returned. The next morning, the chickens twittered and clucked, wondering who the beautiful mystery guest was and why she had flown away. Suddenly, they heard the sound of bugles, and light from the stove lit up the tower. In came the prince carrying a crystal slipper and Cinders' egg nestled in its basket. "I will travel to the ends of the earth until I find the one who wears the slipper and lays silvery eggs. She is my true love," crowed Prince Cockerel, "the princess of my heart." All the hens lined up to try on the slipper. Big feet, long-toed feet, duck feet. They all tried, but not one foot fit into the dainty crystal slipper. When Pecky jammed her foot in, her toes buckled under, and she went off in a huff. Bossy's feathered foot was so large that she tried to hide it by pulling the slipper along with her big toenail. See the slipper? Right here? That's the glass slipper. But none of their feet would fit. Huh. The prince looked in each of the nestling boxes. He saw brown eggs, tinted eggs, speckled eggs, but not one white silvery egg. As he was turning to leave, a luminous glow in a pile of straw under the stove caught his eye. There he saw Cinders and beckoned her out from her nest. She looked up at the prince, and he stared into the eyes of his lady love. He knelt down and slipped the crystal slipper onto her foot. The prince had found his princess at last. Outside, bells rang as the sleigh arrived at the tower. Tasha's father flung open the door, awakening his sleeping daughter. "I thought I'd find you here among your feathered friends, Tasha," he said, revealing a handsome cockerel with a sweep of his arm. "He will be an elegant addition to our flock," he exclaimed. "He can live on the top floor with everything he needs, and maybe some company as well. Perhaps a pretty hen you have been taking special care of." And from that day forward, the elegant Prince Cockerel and Princess Cinderella ruled the roost, and Tasha, especially on the moonlit nights, tucked in her own bed, was sure she heard the sound of music and dancing coming from their tower. The end. Cinders, The Chicken Cinderella by Jan Brett. Love you, Riley. Love you, Colby. One on. Mwah!